Hey YouTube, what's up? Well, it's been about another week since the last video I made, which was the beginnings of the 100 subscriber giveaway contest details. I don't know, I don't think I stated this in the last, in that video, that I won't be starting up the game until we hit 100 subscribers. Once we do, I'm going to drop the first round of clues that you'll need to dig up, questions that you'll need to answer, whatever, to begin the scavenger hunt to see who's going to be the ultimate winner or winners at the end of that contest. So just want to make that clear. So let's see, what the subject of this video is going to be is kind of two things. Both of them are kind of problematic things that you have to deal with when you're in the trucking business, if you undertake this career path. The first one is happened to me the other day, and you know, I've kind of alluded to this once before. I didn't really want to talk about it too much. I don't like to talk about these kind of issues, actually, because, well, frankly, they suck. But they're going to happen. You know, if you're doing this, you're eventually going to find yourself getting in a very sticky situation. You're going to have to figure out how to get yourself out of it. Okay. For me, both of those times have been due to GPS routing issues, where the GPS the routing is just really bad, and it tries to put you into places that you shouldn't be, whether it's on a restricted road for trucks or restricted for weight limits or whatever the reason is. And now some of the reason that happens is because sometimes municipalities will change the use of a road, and it takes time for I use Rand McNally for my GPS, by the way, so it would take time for them to get the information and then update their software for that. But in some cases, like this instance I'm going to talk about, this is not new. I don't know why the routing is as bad as it is for this particular instance. Okay, so the scenario starts basically like this. I had a load that was supposed to go to a company, a distributor called Chicago Beverage Systems. It's in, obviously, Chicago, kind of in the north west area of Chicago, or central northwest area of Chicago. But the problem for me comes down to this. I'm following my route. I'm less than half a mile from the final destination, and you know, everything's proceeding normally until it gets to have me want to take a left turn onto Lake Street. Now, for those of you, including myself, I've been to Chicago many times, but it's not like I know Chicago, you know, like intimately, and know like all the streets and things like that. And certainly it was not there. I've only been there a few times, mostly driving through there on the way to like Milwaukee in a truck. So the left turn that it wanted me to take was on Lake Street. Lake Street is, I think if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's the street. If you've ever seen the movie The Blues Brothers, there's like a chase scene where, you know, they're in their old beat-up cop car and they're running from the police, and I believe they're actually running down Lake Street. If it's not Lake Street, it's another street that's very similar. But what's unique about the street is it has the L train runs right over the top of the street, so it runs the same direction. It follows the street. Essentially, the street is like running underneath it. And you know, if you've ever seen it, it's got all these old steel columns that's going up for the superstructure that support the railway above. Now, the problem with that is that there's no way you can get a 70-foot truck between those steel columns to even get into the roadway in the middle. So as soon as I got to that, where it wanted me to make that left turn, I knew that, hey, I can't get underneath that. There's no way I can make that turn. So I'm gonna, all right, I'll just have to continue down this road a little bit further, and then maybe I can make it left on another major thoroughfare that I can, you know, hook my way back in around that way. Sound like, you know, well, I don't know what else you're going to do at that particular point. The problem is, it wasn't like there was any place to pull over and like, okay, I'm going to pull out my Atlas or whatever, and which, frankly, in a city metro area like that, your Atlas is useless. I don't know I tried that in Atlanta, it didn't work because you can't make out anything from there, and unless it's updated with the changes, even then, I mean, it just doesn't, it shows you the truck routes, but it doesn't show you small, individual streets, and you got hundreds and thousands of streets, in these big cities like this. So I don't know how that was going to be of any use to me, or even if I could have done it. Now another option would be I could pull out my laptop, and then I could get a much bigger view of through Google Maps, and I can get a good overview. And that's how I typically would solve that problem. So I would take a good look at that, and then I would just plot out my course that I need to take in order to get where I'm going. Normally, a lot of times I do that beforehand. I will pull out, I will get on Google Maps, or I'll get on my phone, and I will look at the final. But a lot of times I only look at what does the building look like, and where am I going to be coming in at stuff. Now, for this particular instance, I did do it on my phone. But I'm looking at it and thinking, okay, this is fine. I can see it's an off. The only problem is it's going to be right off the street. You have to back in right off the street. If there's any traffic, that might be a drag. So I was kind of only thinking about that. But the problem was I was just timing things. Again, you're always trying to time things based on the clock that you have, and especially when you're going through major cities like Chicago and Atlanta and things like that, you really try to time things so you can miss all the traffic and stuff. So to me, it looked like it was fine, and that really. The final location wasn't really the problem, it was the routing, obviously. So anyway, to continue where I left off, I had to continue forward. I got about a block down the road before I'm looking at another overpass in front of me that I'm gonna have to go under, and I'm looking at it, I'm going, well, yeah, that looks pretty low. And I get up to it, and then I see the sign, and for the height, and it's 13 feet. Problem. Yeah, truck's 13 feet 6 inches, so I'm not gonna be able to get underneath that. Of course, and then by that at the same time, my GPS starts going off about height issue, clearance issues and things like that. I'm like, well, great, timely information, thanks for telling me that. Now, of course, it didn't. I didn't reroute myself, or it didn't. I mean, it recalculated, but I don't know what it was doing. I don't know why it didn't. It'd be nice if it would have given me that warning like immediately that, hey, you're going to be coming up to a clearance issue that you can't proceed any further. But whatever reason, it didn't. So now I have a problem because I'm on a 2-lane road. It's very narrow. There's no way to make a U-turn with that truck in that space. But I get lucky because right before the overpass, I think it's like a railroad track thing. It could be another part of the L. Who knows? I don't. It's Chicago. You got a bunch of ancient shit down there. But there was like a dirt alley right before it to the left, and I could look down the alley and see that it looked pretty clear all the way down, which is unusual. It looked pretty wide, unusual also for there, because usually you're going to find trees, telephone poles, you name it. In this area of Chicago, it's normally not going to be anything to get a truck down. But it looked like I could get down there, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and maybe it'll dump out onto another street, and I can, maneuver my way that way. So I make the left, I get in, go take and continue down the alley until it dumps out, and it dumps out onto a residential street, which you can only turn left at, and that's it. It just dumps out. Right side is dead end. There's like a berm, embankment there. There's a building in the front, like some old rundown business. There's a building to the left of some old rundown business. Both of them didn't look like they were even like active anymore. They almost looked abandoned. Anyway, I turn onto the street. Now it's a residential street, and it's super narrow, and it's got cars parked on both sides, lining both sides of the street, and there's speed bumps all the way down it. So I proceed down that street, and of course, where do you think it ends up at? Where do you think it dumps out at? Yeah, if you said Lake Street, you'd be right, because that's exactly where it dumped out at. And I'm like, okay, this sucks, because now what am I going to do? Because I'm looking around. I have to stop in that street, and I'm looking at what are my options now. What am I going to do to get out of this mess that I've gotten myself into? And I look behind me, and there's another alley that runs across that street that I'm thinking, maybe what I'm thinking I need to do is get turned around and go back out the way I came in, and get down that alley, and then turn right, and then work my way back around that way by heading back the way I came. But as I'm looking at the alley, there's no way I'm going to get the truck backed in either side, because there's telephone poles on one side of the alley and wrought iron fences on the other, and houses, and and it's just too narrow. There's just no way that I trusted that I could get in there with my skills. I'm not even sure I could do it even if I was super skilled at backing. And of course, as I've stated many times, backing is my least favorite thing to do. So against better judgment, I decided I'm going to try to see if I can't get onto Lake Street from here, because there's no traffic coming either direction. Pretty much it's very light traffic at all. And I don't know. Maybe I can actually get in there. Now, this is a really bad plan. In retrospect, even at the time, I knew it was a bad plan. I don't know why I was going to try to do it. Mainly because I didn't know what else I was going to do. That I was going to be stuck in this, and then end up having to make our funny list of incidents and things. And I definitely did not want to be on the funny list. So I made 2 attempts to try to pull out there, and there's just no way. The truck is just too long. I could not clear the column, no matter how. I went up onto the sidewalk the second attempt, as wide as I could possibly get, and there was still no way. Blocked traffic both times. Had to make a few cars wait for me, but whatever. I backed up into the street again that I was on. And so then now what? Now what am I going to do? So fortunately for me, that residential street had all those cars parked down. There wasn't anybody going nowhere, and there wasn't any traffic coming down that street. So I decided the only option that I have is to back the truck all the way down that street, back to the alleyway. And then once I get backed all the way to that point where I dumped out at, I'm going to have to turn the truck around in that space. And I'm thinking I can do it if I can just get back all the way down the street. Now you got to keep in mind, this is about maybe 3/4 of a mile, close to, between parked cars. It was very tight on both sides, over speed bumps, big, huge speed. I'm not talking about little speed bumps. I'm talking about those big monsters that they sometimes put on streets that are just insanely stupid. But anyway, I managed to back all the way down the street, get to the end of the alleyway, and then I have just barely enough room to turn the truck around in that space with clearing the 2 buildings and the berm and a pile of dirt that they had piled up at the end of that street there, and then go back down the alley. Okay. Once I get out of there, it's a big sigh of relief, because I got myself out of a jam. That could have been disastrous many ways, and embarrassing and humiliating and all of that good stuff. You just don't want to be that guy, right? I mean, I really don't want to be that guy. So I was feeling pretty good about getting out of there, and I was thinking, okay, the worst of it's over. And in reality, it was. But once I got to the customer, and I kind of knew this from looking at the aerial overhead shot on Google Maps anyway, that this was going to be one of those docks that I think are a pain in the ass, and they drive me crazy. It's where the dock is actually inside the building. You have to go through a door on the outer side, and so the problem with that is you're backing in to a very dark place where it's bright on the outside and it's super dark on the inside. So it essentially becomes a blind back, because you can't see into that darkness, right? So and I'm backing between trailers in pretty much very narrow space, and you have to pull out into the street and block both lanes of traffic in order to maneuver the truck in there anyway. So again, this is another one of those places where I think we have no business sending an OTR truck to. I really wish that we would have a running list of docks that should be designated as non-OTR deliveries, that we should only send regional trucks to deliver at these docks, because their turning circle is much tighter than ours, and they they're short. They have a shorter wheelbase on their tractor. They could do this much better. And also, not only that, but regional guys have, they do a lot more backing. Most of them, I would imagine, are much better at backing than guys like me, who are, especially rookies and OTR guys that don't have to do as much backing. That's one of the reasons why I decided to stick with OTR instead of going Texas Regionals, because I knew I would do less backing. Because I hate doing it. Like I said, I don't care how easy the back is. I still don't like doing it because it's the one time when you can't see what's going on behind the truck, and you just don't know what's going to happen. People are dumb. They will pull behind you. I've seen drivers drive behind guys while they're backing up. Don't care. They just don't give a shit. Everyone is just self-important, and it's just so annoying that people would do that, but you know, they do it. And I don't want to hit anybody. That's the thing. I just don't want to I want my time to be as incident free as possible. You know, while I'm driving, I don't want any incidents. I don't want to come up on our report of accident reports that we get on a daily basis, typically. And I'll find myself on that list. The whole thing is a hassle, and I don't like dealing with those kind of issues. You know, I like to be Mr. Anonymous. Really, I would like to, you know, whenever that day comes I leave Millis, I would love for me to run into drivers sometime and then say, "Oh, you worked at Millis?" I would be, "Yeah, I worked there for X number of years or whatever," and you never knew it because I didn't make waves. I was anonymous. I just went about my business, earned my check, and didn't have any problems. Okay, so that's one issue that I was going to bring up and talk about. The other one would be running on recaps, which is what I'm doing currently. And because as nothing's changed, I'm still running like crazy. And of course, I've cooked my 70 a couple of days ago, and I've been running on recaps. Now, the problem with running on recaps is this. I'm down to like 7-hour drive time available on my clock because I've burned up so much during the 7 days prior to this that I don't have many hours left over that I can use. I'm not getting full 10, 11-hour days or even 8-hour days. I'm now below 8 hours. I got given this load this morning when I had about 7 hours on my clock, but I was sitting on I-80 in a rest stop, and what sucked about that is when I delivered my load yesterday, I knew this was going to be a problem because it was going to be about 6 p.m. when I was going to be shutting down. I was like, I'm going to have problems finding parking, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened. But it was exacerbated by this problem. The closest thing to where I was at was a rest stop, and I was probably, the rest stop was only about 8-10 miles away from where I delivered from, so it was going to be easy to get there. Everything would have been fine. Unfortunately, the rest stop was closed. Both south and northbound rest stops were closed, which is annoying to me why they would close them. They could at least leave the freaking parking open. So I have to proceed down the road another like 10 miles, and there's a couple of truck stops down there, like a Love's and a Pilot. I get there, both lots are full. There's no it's 100% full, both places. There's no parking available. So now my next option is, the next closest thing is a rest stop on I-80, which I'm sure I'm going to be able to find a parking spot at because those tend to be used as much, and usually they're only used for like 30-minute stops from what I've noticed for the most part until late at night. So I had to, which means I have to get on it, but it's also going to be heading in what I think is going to be the wrong direction because it's heading east, and I think I want to be on the westbound side if I could have been. And my hunch was right because in the morning when he gave me the load, which was going to be for Plano, Illinois to Shelby, Iowa, a Menards distribution load, sure enough I need to be going the other way. So that meant I was going to burn time going down I-80 East to get off and then come back, the way, back westbound. Which eats clock, and when you don't have a lot of clock, that's a problem. Because when he gave me the load, he's probably figuring that I had just enough time to get it and deliver the load today, and that might have been true if I hadn't had to waste time, basically, turning around. And then, unfortunately, around Plano, there's a lot of road construction, so it was like things conspired against us to keep me from getting the load there on time or today. That turnaround on the toll road, the construction in Plano, and then also dealt with a train. Trains just irritate me to no end because you're just sitting and doing nothing, while you're waiting for these morons to figure out what they're doing. And why they have to block certain roadways, I don't know. Sometimes they'll barely be blocking it and they'll be sitting there for half an hour and you're just stuck and you can't move. But it is what it is. You can't, and there it is. You can't do anything about it. Anyway, that left me about, once I got the load, there was another problem there because it was apparently a partial load, that half of it went to Plano and the other half supposed to go to Menards, so it meant that Menards and Shelby, so that meant that I had to go, instead of just getting the paperwork out of the nose of the trailer, hooking up and pulling out and leaving, I had to go back through the entrance and go all the way back to the backside of the Menards to the office to go in there and have them basically give me a piece of paper that says that I'm released to leave. It's one of those stupid procedural things where it made no sense because the guy didn't even look in the trailer. No one looked in the trailer. They didn't put a new seal on it. I mean, truth is, I could have loaded whatever I wanted while I was in there and just left with it, and they wouldn't have known. I mean, it's a good thing that I'm not that kind of guy, because they just left themselves open to being, ripped off. But whatever, that's their issue, not mine. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm going to do what I need to do and do the right thing. I'm not looking to lose my job over something I could load onto a trailer that I have. Where am I going to do with it anyway? I mean, what am I going to do? It's not like I'm driving by my house, I mean, so whatever. It's just sort of silly. So anyway, now because of all that, I'm like an hour and a half short of the time that I, to make delivering that load. So that's the other side of that. The running on recaps is that you don't make as much money because you can't put as many miles down either. So to me, it just makes more sense for me once I hit this part is just to shut down for 34 hours and do a reset and get my full 70 back so that I can start hammering it again, because this just wears me out. I mean, these partial days and stuff, I don't know, I don't like it. I don't like running on recaps too much. I wouldn't mind it if there was something important, there was an important load that needed to get there, I could see doing it for a day or two for that, but to keep doing it over and over day after day doesn't seem like it makes much sense to me, because I mean, if I was regional maybe, but OTR, no, it doesn't make any sense at all. There's you're going to give me silly loads to take that are just going to eat up a lot of time. I'm not going to make any money. I mean, for an OTR guy, you don't make money unless it's you're logging those miles. If they give you, I mean, the first load that they were going to give me this morning, I'm glad that they didn't want it. They weren't ready for it, because it was just a stupid 95-mile run. That's just I'm not going to make any money doing those kind of loads at all, and I don't want to do them unless there's an absolute need for that. I mean, I'll do what they ask me to do because, the side of the truck, it says Millis, and my shirt says Millis, and, my paycheck says Millis. So, I'll do what they tell me to do, but and not complain about it. But I'd rather that you keep me rolling and I keep, because then we both make money that way. Neither one of us are making money if you have me doing that silly stuff. But anyway, I think that's enough whining for one day. And it's really not that I don't really sound like I'm whining about it, because some guys don't know what to expect when they come to this career. They don't. I've seen a couple, at least one or two new drivers on our Facebook group complaining about stuff that, like little girls, to be honest with you. I mean, and it's almost sad because they're whining about, like, this is the most terrible thing they've ever done. Look, guys, I've had a lot of shitty jobs, okay? This isn't one of them. This is not that. And if you're a prima donna if you're out here whining about this and how things go here and the way this company treats you, because unless now other people's experience could be different. I have no doubt about that, but could it be that different? Could it really be that different? Could it be that bad? I have to question that. Maybe it's just them, not the company. Who knows? What do you guys think? I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on any of my videos. If you have any thoughts, questions, whatever, anything you'd like to see content-wise, don't hesitate. Throw it out there for me. I would love to have more engagement with you. That's part of the reason why I'm going to do the contest subscriber giveaway thing the way that I'm doing it, instead of just saying, hey, everybody just submit your name and I'll just pull it out. I'm trying to get some engagement with you. I'm trying to get you to participate a little bit more. I'd like to get to know some of you and what you're, if you are thinking about this career, if you're just here for entertainment value, if you are experienced drivers and you're working for other people, what is your experience like? You don't have to name your company if you don't want to, but tell me what things are like for you. Let me know. I'd like to hear about it. Anyway, I think that'll do it for this time. When we hit 100 subscribers, we'll throw down the first set of questions and clues. That's when things are going to kick off for the giveaway. And I am picking up additional prizes. So hang in there, be good to each other, and don't be a dick. And we'll catch you next time. Peace.